My name is Garrett Sims. We got a very exciting episode of Sports Timeout for you. It's episode 18 with guest Maddox Blystone. This will be our last winter episode before we get into the spring, so we'll have about a week or so off before we get back into recording. Very excited for it. Obviously, I got to sit down with Maddox. He's a great kid, great athlete. Wanted to show some love to Wellington Napoleon. And this is going to kind of be our basketball episode, so we want to primarily focus on basketball. With all that being said, we're going to start the program right now. We hope you're having a good morning because Sports Time Out Weekly Roundup is about to start. Kory's joined me, luckily, for another episode. We got lots of district basketball action. We have Wellington Napoleon, they finished up their season. Odessa finished up their season. Oak Grove finished up their season. Unfortunately, came a little bit shorter of what these guys probably would have wanted and not necessarily winning a district championship. But, I mean, for a lot of these teams, I think they had a very good season and a season to be proud of. I did want to start off about talking about the boys Tigers. Maddox Blystone is going to be on later this episode. Thank you to Maddox. But just incredible kind of what they do. They go in, they beat Plattsburgh, obviously, and I know we talked about it all year long, Kory, with Bill Hughes. It's turning it on in districts. Mm-hmm. And it felt like they were close to doing that, you know, and they get the first game under their belt. They win that 52-47. Obviously, the next one they fall, 55-47 to Stewartsville. But, I mean, I think they got a lot of young pieces. Obviously, Maddox Blystone being him and Jared Raymond being the leaders. I think they've taught this group well. I think they got a young bunch coming back next year. But what a great season for them to finish like that.
Yeah, and good for them to get the win against the other Tigers team from Plattsburgh in the first round. So I mean, and I think Coach Hughes even commented that it was kind of like he kind of harkened it back to the polo game. It was a physical game, and he pretty much said like that kind of prepared them for this Plattsburgh game. And luckily, the Tigers were able to come out on top and advance. So that was very cool. So it's kind of his words coming to fruition. I mean, that's the regular season preparing you for the postseason. Unfortunately, they couldn't get past Stewartsville. And I believe Stewartsville went on to win that district championship. I think they beat Penny at Penny, which is not an easy task to do. So, props to the Tigers for making it to the semifinals. Up and down season. Record probably doesn't really reflect how good that team actually is because they play a stout schedule. So props to the Tigers. A lot of good pieces coming back, like you were saying. So the future looks pretty promising.
Brody Best. You got Johnny Hampton. I think you got a lot of young guys on this team, and I'm forgetting one that should be Jay Smefford, who should be on the top of my head. You got a lot of young core players coming back. You always like that. Obviously, it's not the goal you wanted, but, I mean, it's a great season for the Tigers, and they have nothing to hang their heads about. And, obviously, we're going to get to talk to Maddox. I mean, that dude was in double digits a lot, probably north upwards of 20 most of the time. And I'm excited to talk to him, and I want to tell you a little bit about this. When he did that 34-point game, he broke his mom's personal best of 28. Nice. So if you want a little background story, and I've been meaning to get it out here, but Maddox beat Aisha Blystone's personal best record, and that was kind of
there's something to be said about bragging rights, and when it's at your own dinner table, that's a big time thing. So congratulations, Maddox. I'm happy for you. Don't let any opportunity pass where you can remind your mom of that.
Exactly. We're going to move over to the girls, and they really had a great district tournament. Yeah. Like I said, fall short to Santa Fe, 52-37.
Yeah.
But they ran the table there. They started off against Bramer, beat them 34-13. Wow.
Yeah.
And
take it.
You got to take it. And then you go to they play Hardin Central, beat them 51-43. And kind of like they did last year, once again, you're turning it on for districts, and it's not like you're saying, oh, we don't take this seriously. It's such a learning experience, and you learn and you learn and you learn. And I'll even say this. I think Kaylin Ellison finally got back out on the court. That was awesome to see.
Yep.
Good job for them, and I think that really helped them in the district tournament. Like I said, obviously you fall short, but what a great season for these girls.
Yeah, and they upset Hardin Central, you said, in the semifinals, which was, avenging a loss from earlier in the season, which I think was by double digits. Might have lost by 12 or 13 to those Bulldogs earlier in the season. So awesome. I mean, you can't just show up and win a game, and maybe that's what Hardin Central thought in that semifinal contest. Maybe they didn't. Maybe Wellington just executed really well. It's probably a combination of both. Coach Hampton had him prepared and ready to go mentally and physically, and and they went out there and won 2 ball games in the district tournament. The last 2 they weren't supposed to win at all.
Yeah,
got 1, and then honestly gave Santa Fe a pretty good game in the championship game, and again, props to them. They've got again a lot of good players coming back next year. You are losing Kaylin Ellenson, who, props to her for fighting back and battling back. Numerous injuries, got on the court late in the season, so that's very cool for her. They lose Brylan Zyke and Rayleigh Rukavina. Other than that, they've got a lot of girls coming back.
You got Callie Russell, I mean, to mention one of them, and then there's
Aiden Ellenson. I mean, you got really good players that you can build around. That's definitely going to help, next year. And obviously, Coach Hampton's going to coach them up in the off season and get them ready to go and put them through the fires in the summer, whether it's team camps, individual camps, team camps, and your summer leagues. So they'll be ready to go next year, no doubt in my mind, and another good run for them in the district tournament.
It was a really good season for both the Wellington Napoleon teams when you look at it as a whole and to see where they finished and what they did. This 2 great groups of athletes, and we're excited to see what they do in the future. Obviously, we're hoping they continue playing ball, if that's soccer, if it's basketball, if it's baseball, if it's even track and field without a ball. Whatever they do, we're excited to see what some of these seniors do moving on, but it was a great season for both of them. We're going to jump over to a game me and Kory were both at. The Oak Grove Odessa district game. It wasn't the championship. I think it was the first round.
Quarterfinals, yep.
Quarterfinals. So what an exciting game. And I don't think people understand that, like, the atmosphere. Oh my goodness, Kory. I hadn't been to an Oak Grove Odessa basketball game in forever. And there was just times it was Oak Grove yelling as loud as they could. Odessa, not liking that. So you're going to yell back. Sure. It was a loud environment, and it ended up being probably the best game of the district tournament.
Probably so, yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. The atmosphere was awesome. It's Odessa and Oak Grove anyway is fantastic atmosphere regular season. You throw in a winner-take-all, loser-go-home situation in a district tournament, that amps everything up another level or two. So, yeah, the gym was rocking for sure at Oak Grove High School. Oak Grove boys came out, obviously, and kind of used that home crowd to their advantage. I would say, like, threw some gut punches, threw some body punches, and metaphorically speaking, yeah. I want to say, metaphorically speaking, threw some body punches, and Odessa kind of withstood it, to their credit, and I think had a 2-point lead maybe after the first quarter.
They were leading.
It was a fight from then on out. I mean, it was a battle.
A fist fight in a phone booth.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I want to make this point, and I want to give Will Fox his flowers. Because, there's a lot of times in the past, and I'm not saying every single basketball coach, there would have been times that Odessa team came back out and they just fall flat.
Correct, yeah.
He had them. Will, great job this year. I know this was your first year, but a huge congratulations. I mean, it was such a fist fight in a phone booth that you felt like who was going to drop the ball first. Like, it was who was going to mess up first. And, of course, you got to such a defensive game, points kind of slowed up there towards the end, and it was like next make wins.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was impressed that both teams fought. That's Ethan Shackelford and his great coaching.
Yeah.
That's Will Fox and his great coaching. That's a credit to just 2 teams fighting their tail ends off.
Yeah,
it was so exciting because in just to kind of set the stage, what was it? Kleppel tied the game.
Yeah, Carter Kleppel hit a 3 late, I want to say under 20 seconds to go, and then Oak Grove got the ball, crossed half court, called timeout, ball got deflected out of bounds, yada, 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 and they hit let me think here, Luke Sharts came in, inbounds the ball to Philip Nato. Nato finds Keenan Brady into the basket, lays it in with like 3 seconds left. So, Odessa had a quick timeout and an opportunity to reply full length of the court, but that's a really hard reply.
In 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds. Got to go the length of the floor. So I'm going to give props to, honestly, Oak Grove's reserves in that game, and not necessarily reserves, but just people that you don't always hear from. Phoenix Zimmerman had a huge game.
Yes, he
13 points off the top of my head. He's not really your go-to guy. It's the Keenan Brady's, it's the Philip Natos that kind of get those calls sometimes. He might be a 3rd or 4th or 5th option sometimes on that offense, but when he had open shots, he knocked them down. He took care of the ball. He distributed it when he needed to, so he played really well. Luke Sharts, I think, had 6 or 7 points off the bench.
He did really well.
And played composed basketball. So, I mean, that reserves like that, obviously, if you can get bonus points out of some of those guys in a postseason game, in a big-time game, like those are literally bonus points. Those are points that you weren't counting on, and you got them in a big game like that. And when you win by 1 point, those little things come up huge. So props to those guys. Props to Ethan Shackelford and his coaching staff for pulling out that win. It was a fantastic game.
I mean, yeah, and the coach's intensity matched that. I mean, Ethan and Will were right there in it. And, I mean, I wasn't surprised they weren't going at each other a little bit. It was such that high-stakes game. And, and I just want to say this, too. I don't think – I mean, there's a lot of athletes, and obviously, Philip Nadeau, I don't want to say had his best game or, anything like that, but he's an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
He can – oh, my goodness. I mean, he can jump – sprint. I mean, it was just amazing kind of watching him do his thing. He missed on a couple layups. I mean, and then you look at the center game, and there he is. He's hitting them now. So I know basketball, it's not an easy sport. No sport is easy, but he was incredible just to watch his raw and pure athleticism. And he's a junior.
He's a junior, and we'll throw it back to Keenan Brady, who hit the game winner. He went 8 for 8 in that game from the field, which is not easy to do. Now, granted, he plays on the block. That's what everybody's going to say. He plays on the block. He's shooting layups. I promise you, bro, if I gave you a basketball and I contested 8 shots from the block, you're going to miss 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? So, again, props to him for hitting 8 for 8. Again, in a huge environment, huge game, on your home floor. You hit the game winner. He looked just as stunned as anybody else on the Odessa side.
Honestly. That's why you should check out the Odessa, and that picture's in there. It's on the sports page. I mean, he was kind of shocked by it. It was like excitement, but it was also like a Van Gogh type. Oh, I don't know what just happened. And it's funny because we'll talk about it here in a second. It was, I think, was it Marsh or Goddard that hit the game winner?
Marsh.
It was Marsh
against Odessa girls. Yeah.
That was even crazier, Kory.
Yes.
And I just want to throw it back to Odessa real quick before we wrap this up, because Oak Grove went on to play center. But, they came into it. We obviously knew it was going to be a close game, and they just fought. I mean, Landon Leakhart, that might be the best game.
Yep.
His best game, definitely.
6 for 10 from 3-point range. I mean, the dude was absolutely on fire. I hated that he fouled out. It was a tough foul. It probably was a foul. But man, that's a tough way to go out. I think it was 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. You really want him on the floor, obviously, in those situations. So that was a tough way to end his playing career. But man, he really showed out. And I'll give it to Landon. He improved so much since his freshman year. And I would say the most improvement was mentally, was between the ears. He was very unselfish this year. He was all about the team. When we talked to him for the winter sports preview, it was team over me, and that's fantastic. I don't think I'm going out on a limb and saying that hasn't always been the case with Landon growing up, and hopefully, something like that, he can carry on and into the rest of his life. But man, what a pleasure to watch. He was awesome.
Excited to see what he does, obviously, too. And they got a young core coming back. That Carter Kleppel, he's going to be back. So you got good pieces, and obviously Landon, you played your heart out. Obviously, it's not the result you wanted, but I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
He gave his all, and it was awesome to see.
Complete stud.
I'm excited to see, moving forward what he does with his future and where he goes and stuff like that. He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
Insane athlete.
Yeah.
We're going to jump it on over to Oak Grove Center. Oak Grove loses this game, unfortunately, but, what a good tough game for them.
Yeah.
They fought till the end. Obviously, it doesn't end up the way, but, I mean, you see it through, your photos sometimes, and, for the people that are there, goodness, Nadeau had a decent game, and
it was low scoring. I mean, it was a battle. I think Center jumped out to a 9-0 lead or an 8-0 lead, something to that effect, and only had 14 points at halftime. It was 14-9 at halftime, that's football score, bro. Like it was, it was a physical game. Kids were jawing back and forth. At one point, I'm pretty sure in the first quarter, there was a technical for a situation where some kids, I don't know if it was left the bench or what happened, but there was some jawing. There were some personal battles going on, which you don't always want to see because sometimes that gets in the way of actually executing as a team. But it was close throughout 3.5 quarters, and Center pulled away late. 42-28 was the final. So, I mean, it was the game was much closer than the score indicated. But again, Oak Grove battled 4 full quarters, gave it all they had, just came up short.
And I think, like we've talked about, they're going to miss Aaron Reeves. They're going to miss Keenan Brady.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of good pieces coming back. And goodness, Philip Nieto senior year. I think they did very, very well. And so we'll see, obviously, going into next year. But this is such a good, for them, I believe. I mean, they battled. They made it to the semifinals. And sometimes, like I said, it's not the result you want. But they have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to hang their heads about.
Went to the district championship a season ago, made it to the semifinals this a week or so ago. I mean, you know what their mission is.
It's always tough too, and I do want to say this, and I know we've talked about it before. When you play such a hard game against Odessa, like hard fought, emotional, the everything's running high. And I'm not saying they weren't focused against center, but you put so much effort and stuff like that into that game and you win it that it feels sometimes that like it's such a big win. And I'm not saying they didn't take center seriously because they fought their tails off.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes a little bit harder coming off that big win to keep the success going.
Yeah.
And this is not a high school take. This is from the NFL to the NHL to the NASCAR. I've said this about everything. It's my Bills and Chiefs type deal. So, but it's sometimes hard to refocus, retool, but they still gave a great, tremendous effort. And
it was a different environment in the gym. I mean, center doesn't travel like some of our other MRVC West schools. I mean, the gym was not packed. Oak Grove side was pretty darn full. Center side was maybe a quarter full, maybe half full. So, I mean, obviously the temperature in the gym had come down from 2 nights ago in the Odessa Oak Grove battle. But, yeah, I mean, it was... But you got to play in the environment that you're in.
Oh,
It doesn't matter. You got to adjust and adapt and play on. So I mean, Center won the game. They ended up going on to win the district championship, beat Marshall pretty convincingly in the championship game. So they're moving on to the sectional round. And Oak Grove and Odessa, unfortunately, are packing away their basketball shoes and getting out there whatever else they might be doing now.
Track, baseball. I mean, you got boys golf, boys tennis. What else? Girls soccer. It's going to be that time soon, and we're going to be excited for that.
Yep, for sure.
We got one more Odessa Oak Grove game, the girls, real quick. We'll recap them real quick. I think they played a very close game, like I said, and I think the one thing, and I don't want to say this as a negative or anything like that, Oak Grove just kind of had more size. I felt like Odessa all year had been shooters, not bigs, not their game, and great fight, great game, you know, obviously.
Oak Grove came out. Was at that game. It was at Knob Noster in the. It was the semifinals of their district tournament, and Oak Grove came out absolutely ready to play, and it was one of those. It kind of made me think of the Mike Tyson quote: "Everybody's got to play until you get punched in the face." Like that was kind of it. Like Odessa got punched in the face, metaphorically speaking. Again, in the first quarter of that game, and they had to play from behind for much of that game, and to their credit, they fought and clawed and took a lead late and just couldn't hold it, quite honestly. Oak Grove made plays all night long, whether it was hitting shots or getting in the paint or making free throws. But when Odessa tied it up late and no timeouts, immediately get it in. They push the ball up, get it to Addison Marsh on the block, and she puts up the shot and is fouled as she's coming down. Ball goes in. She sinks the free throw with 2.4 seconds left and wins the game. I mean, it was we're not doing the game justice. It was a wild game. It was crazy. Both sides were emotional and hot, as you can imagine, but it was a fantastic win.
When you think about everything they have to go through and stuff like that, and just it is amazing, and we should be very lucky. I know Odessa on this side of the rivalry went 0 for 2, but gosh, there's something about good competitive basketball games in general. Yeah. I think kids learn good sportsmanship. I think they learn so much from it. And for us as fans, it's just grab your popcorn, sit on the edge of your seat, and just hope for great sportsmanship.
It's true.
I mean, seriously, and I love Odessa. I don't like Oak Grove as much, but even during that boys game, I was sitting there. I'm like, I just want somebody to win. Because this is good enough. They've given everything they can, and that's what I know. We're probably not giving the girls as much justice, but seriously, to come back to battle and to tie it up and then get the lead, and then at the last second, Oak Grove strikes again.
Yeah.
It's just, and sometimes with basketball, it's just who gets the ball at the right time with the right amount of time, and it's just amazing. Oak Grove did a great job handling their situation and ended up winning them both. And
yeah, I mean, you got to think about, some of those Oak Grove girls, and this is not an excuse on either side, some of those Oak Grove girls have played in some huge softball games. They've been under the microscope. They've been in those huge pressure situations. So when you go to Knob Noster High School, it may not be that big of a deal. Gym's half full. There's a few Boonville people there watching to see who they're going to play in the championship game. Otherwise, it's Odessa and Oak Grove people, the diehards that are traveling not to Knob Noster. So I mean, it's one of those deals where some of those lessons that you learned maybe on the softball field or maybe in the championship game last year when they won the district championship, Oak Grove did. Maybe some of those lessons that you learned along the way you take into that game in the final 30 seconds, and it all pays off. I mean, it just sometimes it does, and that's okay. Odessa's has learned some huge lessons from those 4 quarters of basketball that we're going to see pay off next year. I promise you.
And if you're correct,
having no seniors on that team.
That's what I was going to say. No seniors. I mean, you got that entire team coming back young. I mean,
So I mean, it's going to be next year's going to be another barn burner between Oak Grove and Odessa. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. So
the thing I did want to point out with the Oak Grove girls is and the Odessa girls is there was only 5 teams in the district, so they already start off at the semifinals, and then so obviously Oak Grove goes to play Boonville. I think Boonville ends their season
68-63, but I tell you what, 3.5 quarters, Oak Grove led that game. It got away from them late. They were playing fantastic basketball, and again, being in the gym at that game, Boonville was absolutely shocked. Everybody
has a play until they get punched in the mouth.
That is exactly correct, and that's what happened. I mean, they had a pretty decent lead after 1 quarter. They kind of let Boonville back in. I think they had 3 turnovers in their last 5 possessions. Oak Grove did to end the first half, and kind of let Oak Grove get a lead, let Boonville get a lead, just a short lead there at halftime, and then, but I mean, third quarter they bounced right back. They just couldn't finish it off. They just honestly ran out of plays, ran out of execution. Unfortunately, 3.5 quarters, and it's a 4-quarter game. And Boonville, again, kind of like Oak Grove did against Odessa, Boonville just made a couple more plays that were huge at the right time, squeaked out the win and advanced, and unfortunately ended Oak Grove season.
But, I mean, such a great season for these Panthers, boys, girls. Same for the Bulldogs and Lady Dogs. It's just great. I mean, I know it's not where you want to end, but I mean, these teams gave us such great performances that I don't think you can really, like I said, don't hang your head. Move on to whatever sport you guys are doing. The weather's getting better. You don't have to be stuck inside anymore.
Exactly.
As much as we love wrestling and basketball, I think getting out and seeing some baseball and some soccer and some golf and some tennis is good too.
Yep.
We got lots. I'm excited. I don't want to change our subject, Kory, but we got a lot of great kids I've already got lined up.
Sweet.
Aiden Biermeyer of the OHS baseball team.
Yeah.
I'm excited about him. Hayden
Big lefty.
Terrell.
Yep.
Actually, Wellington Napoleon home runs leader for softball, Gracie Haggard. We're going to plan on having her on. Wiley Smith, Mason Smith's little sister, track superstar.
Yep.
So get ready as we close up our winter season, put our jackets in the closet. We're going to bust out the sunscreen and some glasses, and we're going to get ready for the spring season with lots of great stuff to talk about. So, Kory, with that said, you got anything else for him?
Love it. Ready to go.
He's ready to go, folks. I don't know if he's ready for that or more NASCAR. Or the Chiefs offseason. In Veach we trust.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, this has been our weekly roundup. We really hope you enjoy it. We'll see you in the next one. We really appreciate you listening to our weekly roundup. We'll have a quick ad break before we get to our guest interview with Maddox Blystone. My name is Garrett Sims. I'm joined by a friend of the program, Maddox Blystone. Thanks for coming back, Maddox. I'm excited to have you. Thank you for joining me.
Yep.
I would just want to talk to you a little bit about the basketball season. I know it just finished up, but how would you sum up your final season, and maybe what was the most memorable moment from it?
The start of the season started a little slow. We came off a rocky start, and then we started slowly getting better and better, playing these hard teams like Higginsville and Odessa and stuff like that. And it really helped us towards the end of the season playing conference teams and like Class 2 teams, which we would normally play. definitely helped us in the long run.
And you definitely, oh my goodness, man, it was awesome to see you guys do what you guys do. And, you know,
Definitely.
I'd ask you a little bit of this. Maybe who were some of your favorite teammates to play with? And, you know, what memories do you have and who are you going to miss playing with?
Favorite teammates, Jared, big man. I love him. I love that he come out last year and this year. Johnny, good shooter. Jackson's a good shooter. Brody, he's a slasher. He can get to the rim and shoot. Jace, man, he can pull out some threes, and I love to see him shoot some threes. And my most memorable moment this year is probably just teammates. I mean, I just love my teammates and
You love being around them.
Yep, brotherhood. It's
What is it?
brotherhood.
It feels like, I mean, it's fun. Like
Yes.
that. It's a fun environment. You
Mhm.
get to be confident. You get to be loose. I mean, and, you know, I just ask you a little bit, what are you going to miss about Wellington Napoleon basketball? You know, is it the teammates? Is it the fun and environment and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss the teammates, the coaches, and stuff like that. I know Mr. Hughes is retiring this year, and being able to shoot a ball. I mean, to me, it's the last time I shot the ball. But
Is there any
Yeah.
advice that he's given you over the past couple of years that sticks with you?
hard work and always stay positive.
Always stay positive.
Yep.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask you a little bit, you know, is there any big challenges you guys faced this year and how do you overcome it?
Our challenges definitely were the harder teams we had to play, and we always came out hard playing, and definitely helped us with other teams.
And I want to ask you, you know, you obviously improved throughout your entire career, but I mean, how do you feel you've improved throughout your high school career?
I think I definitely improved on getting to the rim, definitely out of my 4 years. My freshman year was a little slow, and then Coach Hughes believed in me, and he helped me get through it, and I've just gotten better and better. And then this year, I started shooting more threes, which has definitely gotten better for me.
It helped with the high scores and stuff. I was
Yes.
going to say, you were scoring high points all
Mhm.
year long. And I'll ask you a little fun question. How did it feel to beat your mom's personal record?
Oh, it felt amazing. That was my goal the entire year. And Sweet Springs came up. I was like, man, this is like the perfect opportunity. I was dead set on that. I
How
was like,
did
I'm
dinner?
hitting it.
How did dinner go the next day or
Oh.
that night?
Bragging. There's bragging rights right there. I mean,
Kory did say, make sure you bring it up early, make sure you bring it up often, make sure you bring it up every time. So I just wanted to ask you, maybe what was a little bit of your mindset going into this final season for you?
definitely state. We were trying to go to state, but it didn't plan out as accordingly. But our district run, we were set up perfectly. Won our first game, and then our next game we played the first seed team. We were winning the entire game until the fourth quarter, and kind of went downhill from there.
But you have nothing to hang your head about,
Yeah.
Maddox. I mean, you guys gave a tremendous effort. You're a great basketball player, and goodness, got a full list. So, what was kind of your role as a leader, and how would you describe that? What was some ways that you helped others improve their game?
I was like believing in them that they can do it, and told them to believe, and if they believe, anything can happen. I mean, they just gotta work hard and hope things go their way.
And you had a lot of great stuff, and obviously I don't want to go too much to the future. I know baseball's you're excited about baseball.
Oh,
What are you looking forward to this year in that? I know we talked a little bit about it, but
Got baseball coming up, hoping for a state run, and after that, college.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere you're looking to go in any sport?
No, I don't know. I was just falling away from sports because I don't know if I could do sports and school at the same time. But one of my friends, I'm going to school with Joe Heater.
Yeah.
Yep, he's going to MCC to play baseball.
That would be
I'm
cool
gonna,
for you guys.
Yep, I'm going to be rooming with him up there.
Do you know what you're going to be studying yet?
Marine biology.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to go there for my first 2 years because I did A+, and then maybe transfer to a bigger school, continue that.
Yeah, and I don't mean to get into this, but what do you want to do with that in the future? What are your hobbies? Like, what made you choose to chase that?
I don't know. I love fish and animals, so I mean, I just want to be around that. I don't know. It's always been like that.
That's awesome, man. And you chase that, and that's awesome. Go back a little bit to basketball, and I just wanted to kind of finish this up by saying, what's some advice you would give to some of these returning players next year and new players coming in?
Hard work. Always stay positive. Push the younger kids because it will definitely help them out moving forward. And I'm looking for a state run next year.
They got a good core to do it, Maddox.
They do.
You would be the start of it. I mean, It's your leadership and your skills that do that, man. And I want to open it up. Anything you want to say, what anything about basketball, anything about baseball, anything about sports in Wellington, Napoleon. Is there anything you want to say?
I'm gonna miss it all. I mean, I love playing my sports. Four sports. It's a long year, but man, I'm gonna miss it all.
What does it mean to represent Wellington, Napoleon? And I know you still got a baseball season, and that's going to come, but what does it mean, to represent Wellington, Napoleon in football and basketball for that small community in that town?
Oh, it means a lot because our community, they support us so much, and they always seem to show out to our games, and they're loud, and they're always fun to be around.
Yeah, and that's what you could ask for, Maddox. That's all I kind of have for you.
All right.
Thank you, Maddox, for joining me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you guys again for listening to Sports Timeout episode 18 with guest Maddox Blystone. It was great to sit down with Maddox. I really appreciate his time, and it was great getting to talk to him. Like I said, this is kind of going to be our last winter episode. We'll take a break, kind of gather some things, and see where we're at as we get excited about these spring sports. Make sure you're picking up your copy of the Odessan to get all non-sports related news, as well as some of the sports stuff we don't talk about or can't show, such as Kory's beautiful photography. We love Kory. We love the work he does, especially his stories, and everybody else works so hard at the Odessan, and, make sure you're picking one up. With all that being said, we'll see ya when we see ya, hopefully sometime soon.